just sitting there listening to the doctors. I was on my own. Mats was, bouncing off the couch and having a great time.
Sure.
But then taking him out to the car and just putting him in his car seat and just sitting in the car and just crying every day for the first year. I would give myself 10 minutes to cry. Aaron and I were never like poor us, but it was more about how are we going to give this kid a good life.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast 1 day late. If you're listening as it is released, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep up with this weekly schedule, which I had not planned to do weekly. I think when I initially started the podcast, I was going to do it fortnightly. But I've been getting a lot of good interviews. I want to get them out into the world. This is episode 12 of What's Your Damage? The Dirty Dozen, because the guest this week is one of my fellow filthmongers of comedy, who is a wonderful friend and a crusher comedian, Nicky Barry, comedy den mother for the Melbourne comedy scene. She's had a life, man, and she talked to me about she broke off a 30-year marriage over text message and then had a pretty bad divorce. And also we talked about she has raised a child with what she might describe as actual autism or proper autism, where he does need care and he is her dependent even now in his adulthood, and what that process was like getting him diagnosed in 2003 when much less was known about autism. We talked about her extremely alcoholic father who binged alcohol so badly that he got an acquired brain injury that affected him for the whole rest of his life, and he nearly died. And later letting go of him in hospice care nearly 40 years on from that, along with a bunch of other stuff. Nikki's the best. I'm so glad she did the podcast. This interview was quite early in the run. I've since released other things, more recent interviews. So apologies if you're hearing about my divorce again. I promise I'm talking about it a lot less and a lot more quickly if it does come up in more recent interviews. Anyway, Nicky Barry has shows on sale at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival right now. Her show runs April 7 to 19 at Ballers Clubhouse, 6 p.m. It is called Unladylike. She is an excellent comedian, and you should absolutely go and see her show. You can also follow her on Instagram at BarryMePlease, BarryMePlease. I have a show, my touring hour, currently titled As Seen Nowhere, but in fact I will be renaming to Animal Magnetism because it's about a bunch of animals and also love. That is running here in Melbourne, April 9 to 19. I will be bringing it to Darwin, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, East Timor. I have cancelled my Edinburgh Fringe, which I think has been very annoying for the promoter that I had booked it through, but I'm in massive debt. So I cancelled it in order to get my registration fees back to pay down some of the people I owe money. If you're one of those people, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to you as quick as possible. Please do, buy tickets to come and see my show in Melbourne or anywhere else. That helps a lot. If you can't afford tickets, send me a message. I'll put you on the door. I'm really happy with this hour, and I want people to see it and give me feedback and help me to make it better. All right, going to kick into the episode. This has been too rambling and open, but please watch the special White Rice Supreme on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube, please. That helps so much. Also to the podcast, rate and review it. You can find links to everything I'm doing at my website, jezwatts.com, jezwatts.com. Here it is, episode 12. You're something of a comedy den mother. You look after people in the scene.
Well, yeah.
Were you like that before you had kids? You've got 3 kids, right?
4.
Sorry, I forget.
Yeah, I forget them too.
Prolific your
Maybe
pussy
I'm not
is.
such a good one. Oh, mate.
Were you always that kind of person when you were growing up? You've been doing comedy, what, 10 years?
13.
13 now. Sorry,
13,
yeah, I
something
don't know.
like that, yeah.
But yeah, I sort of only got to know, I think probably when I moved to Melbourne.
Yes,
so that's maybe
yes.
8 years ago.
First time I ever saw you, Jez, you ate it hard at
Probably the last time you saw
the
me
Bear
too.
Pit. No, I remember seeing you at the Bear Pit.
Oh wow!
And
yeah.
I was just like,
back when it was actually a hard gig.
when it was,
It's now a lovely gig.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, I really admire this guy's commitment because You just stared down that audience and did it anyway. And I was like, you poor bastard. But I was loving it at the same time. I was like,
thank you, Nicky.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bombing, Jess.
Yeah, I'm sure whoever went after me had an easy road because
that
of
was
it.
me.
Yeah, great. I don't want that. I don't want the audience even now to ever compare us directly, like one-to-one.
No.
That's no good for me.
It was just funny.
Have you always been like that kind of person where you sort of look for people in need, or did motherhood make you that person?
No, I don't think motherhood made me that person. I think I was that person already, to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you always want kids?
Yes, foolishly.
You love them though, right?
Oh, yeah. Look, I look at it, 4 donor kidneys, Jess. Like, they're all very healthy.
Yes,
you know what I mean? My
absolutely.
kidneys are fucked.
Yeah.
You know,
Are they really?
and plus, they can program my TV. I've set myself up for old age.
How old? Yeah. So how old were you when you had the first one?
24.
How old were you when you had the last one?
34.
Yeah. All right. You didn't give yourself a lot of downtime.
No.
Yeah. You love to fuck.
Just didn't want to go down, Jess.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair
There's
enough.
options.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why
Okay.
I had a vasectomy. Nicole also doesn't want to go down, but she also has 1 kid. So you feel like you're always maternal, and your ex-husband and your marriage did go through a period of good times.
Yes.
And you were married for how long?
Nearly 30 years.
Fuck, that's
a long time. I know.
And so what percentage of that was good? When did it start to go bad? And I guess like how long was the decline? And then what was the reason you guys finally ended it?
Okay. So I'm going to say that, obviously retrospectively now, but because, when you're in something, you're in it and you don't necessarily see it the same way. But reflecting on it now, I think that the first 20 or so years were good.
Yep.
I
Good,
think,
like lowercase g.
No.
Or actually good.
I'm going to say capital good.
Yeah, good. Okay.
We.
That's a long run of good time.
It is a long run of a good time. I'm going to say the next 4 or 5 years were okay, or maybe even lowercase g good. Like, they were all right,
All right.
And then the last couple of years were shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the final, like, nail in the coffin or whatever?
The final nail in the coffin was that he called me up at a job that I had only been at for a couple of weeks, and I was working in an open plan office. He called me on my mobile. Of course, I answered the phone, and he just started screaming at me, like full bore screaming at me over something really minor that should have been just a discussion at home.
Yeah,
there's no need to call in the first place.
Yeah.
And there's certainly never any reason to scream at someone like that unless they're trying to murder you, I'm going to say. But, I was so...
But you think he was, like, carrying anger about other things?
I was angry about everything. But I felt so humiliated because, I was pretty new. I barely knew anyone there, and everyone could hear. Like, he was yelling that loud that you could, like, people sitting around me could hear. And I immediately had to sort of, race through the reception area and step outside into a hallway to, kind of respond to that. But I just had a moment where, like, I spoke to him for a minute and basically told him to fuck off. We could talk about this at home.
Yeah.
And also it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't something to... And then he tried to call me back again and I didn't answer. And then he sent me a text message along the lines of, answer your fucking phone or something like that.
Right.
And so I just sent him, honestly, I broke up with him by text. I sent him a text message back.
After 30 years?
Yep. And said, if this is how things are going to be, I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow. And was he upset that there was like a divorce happening? Or was he like, oh, good, actually, I was done with it as well?
No. Well, at first he was like really distraught and everything.
And suddenly nice for a little bit?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Contrite and everything.
Yeah.
And then when he realised that because I'm quite sure he thought that after a day or two I would just be
Calm down.
oh, no, I'm...
She's just being a woman.
But you know what it is? It was cold. I was cold angry rather than hot angry.
That's a terrifying one.
And cold anger is a very different thing.
Well, it sticks around.
Like, I'm done. Like, I was absolutely no.
Yeah, so obviously you'd sort of had a bunch of smaller things happen, right, leading up to that?
Yeah.
Where you were sort of like, this is hurting me, and you get to a point you go, actually, we're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. the longer you're in a relationship, if you're not very careful, you kind of lose your own identity. You become a couple rather than.
I think that's true. Yeah.
In many respects, especially when you've also got kids, because there's
right, because you have this home life that needs so much attention.
Full on.
Yeah, absolutely.
4 children is a full-on life.
That's
and
so
especially,
much.
Our youngest kid has a disability.
Yeah, we have rabbits, we have occasional possums.
And
that's to me already oh my God, how do I keep up with it?
Yeah,
I have to occasionally vacuum out their area.
Because they need things and you're the only person
you're
that
their caregiver.
Can
was
help them with.
Was the what do you call him? The former Mr. Barry? Is what
the artist formerly known as Mr. Barry.
So was he ever an engaged caregiver for the kids, or was it more of an old school sort of traditional thing of
Oh no, he was pretty good when he was around, but one of the things when because he filed for the divorce formally when we got to that point.
Okay.
And, he had me served with a 47-page affidavit about all of my failings as a person.
Yeah,
that makes great reading. I should have brought it along.
We'll post it in the show notes.
Maybe, yeah. But, one of the things that he claimed in that was that he was the parent that spent, more time with the kids and that. And honestly, for all of our marriage, he left home between 5:30 and 6 a.m. every day of the week to go to work, and sometime on Saturdays as well.
What was his work, or what is his work?
He managed an engineering works on the other side of the town, Bayswater, so 40 kilometres from where we were living.
Yeah.
So I had to get up early. Work started at 7. He had to open up the factory and set up all the machines and stuff.
Yeah, okay. And then when did he get home?
Well, for the first 15 years of that, he would not get home until somewhere between 6 and 7 every night.
Yeah.
So I was on duty on my own.
Yeah.
For all of that time every day.
Yeah.
And also working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sounds like a lazy bitch to me.
So
sounds like somebody who really didn't contribute.
The judge had a bit of a chuckle about that.
Yeah, sure.
But when he was at home, he did lots of stuff with the kids, and he would help out with the household chores and all that sort of stuff. He wasn't a complete dead shit in that way.
So what kind of things were made in that 47 pages? What kind of claims?
Oh, let's see.
If you can remember any specifics.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that he'd contributed more financially, that he'd been the better and more engaged parent. He also put, the wrong date of birth down for our eldest child, and he misspelled the name of our second son. So that's how engaged he was with them.
Love that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I just liked getting the highlighter pen and doing all of those things. It was very good for me going through that thing, really.
And I don't want you to do the bit, but you have a great bit about the divorce because you did it over Zoom.
We did do,
and so you recorded it.
Yeah.
The bit's very funny. In the end, you got 70% of everything. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that I'm remembering correctly? Yeah. And was he pissed off? What's your relationship like now? Do you guys still talk?
No.
At all?
No.
After 30 years?
I only communicate with him when necessary by email, and the reason I do that is because he's a manipulative asshole.
Right.
And so that way I have everything in writing. So
smart.
When he months later will say to me, "Oh no, I didn't agree to that," or this, I'm like, "Oh, here we are. I'll just flick this back to you."
I'm like that with real estate agents.
Yes,
because
he's honestly, on about the same level.
Yeah. Oh fuck! What a horrible. We should kill this dude.
So bad. Doesn't own a navy suit and brown shoes, but I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, untrustworthy people. You have to put in writing.
Yeah.
You just have to. There's always angles.
Yeah.
So he's an engineer. You have a kid that's like a physicist. Is that right?
Correct.
What do your kids do? The 4 kids?
Oh, so our eldest son is a theoretical physicist.
That's right, yeah.
Our daughter is a nutritionist and personal trainer.
Cool.
Our middle boy is a childcare worker.
Oh, yeah, cool. That's nice.
And then we've got Matt's our youngest boy, who's 26 tomorrow. He's turning 26 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is super spectrum-y.
Yes.
And properly. I say to people, he doesn't have Fitzroy autism. He's got the real one.
Love this joke. Yeah. I heard you do this in Brunswick, which is another left area.
Yeah.
I heard you do this joke. Yeah, where you were like, yeah, he has non-Fitzroy based autism. I think this is the line, but you were like, if you were at a party explaining to someone how you have autism, you don't.
Yeah, yeah,
Which I
pretty
thought was
much.
very, very clever.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, so he's what's the levels? Like, is he like level 3? What's it? Is that the term or?
Oh, look,
It's all changing every year. I feel
they
like all the
changed the way
terminology.
they classify it. Well, he's NDIS package for life level.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's up the top. He's really made it.
But yeah, you were telling me he had like what was the class or something he did recently? Like, and he spoke at the end, and he was like the headliner of the autistics.
Yeah. He graduated from his work skills program at the end of last year, and they had a little
They did like
graduation
a speech?
ceremony. And
Yeah.
yes, they were invited to say a few words as they received their certificate. And Matt has the same understanding as I do of what a few words are.
Yeah, he did an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Crushed.
Fucking slayed.
What having Matt, like, what kind of stress was that when he was young? Was that really tough?
Yeah, it was, because I guess, when a baby's born, you don't know they have autism.
Yeah, it's what, like a couple of years in that it sort of starts to become
really
clear,
is,
right?
and because Matt's was a very physically healthy baby, and he was surrounded by 3 older kids, right? So
oh yeah, they're bringing him into everything.
they're bringing him into everything. There's a
Yeah.
lot going on around us. So I guess some of the more extreme autism traits as we understood it at the time, and also let's reflect, this was 25 or so years ago.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
our understanding of autism was nowhere near what it is even now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was 3, and the main thing that took us to sort of seek some help to understand what was going on with him is that he had started to speak as, babies regularly do, where they make that mum, dad, and say those single words sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was doing all of that. But
We have a good friend who has a son that's definitely autistic, but he doesn't know, and we sort of don't feel comfortable bringing it up with him. He's gotten like some speech therapy and stuff, but it's like we sort of, we don't know how appropriate it is to be like, hey, you should get your kid tested, or whatever, because I feel like the earlier you get this identified, it's like the better the kid's going to be.
It certainly is. Well, I remember the day he was, we first, took him to, the better parent.
Yeah. The divorce has been finalized. You can say whatever you want now.
Took him to the children's hospital, but it was because of the speech thing.
Yeah.
And so I took him to see, made an appointment to take him to see a pediatrician at the children's.
Sure.
And, like people had said, oh, it might be his hearing. We knew he could hear.
Yeah.
Right. But so I took him to see the pediatrician, and the pediatrician was fabulous, but said to me after about 20 minutes, oh, do you mind if I'm going to go and get a colleague to come and sit in on this as well, and got kind of the head honcho pediatrician.
Feels like an ominous moment as a mother.
Yeah, it did. And then, who was also lovely to me and, spoke to me a little bit, and then said to me, he said, well, I am not 100% sure, but if I had to make a diagnosis right now, I would say that your son has autism, right? And then talk to me about what to do next about that.
What was your first reaction in the moment?
Oh, it was terrible. Like, I can remember, just sitting there listening to the doctors, I was on my own. Matt's was, bouncing off the couch and having a great time.
Sure.
But then, like, taking him out to the car and just putting him in his car seat and just sitting in the car and just, like, crying. Like, I'm not a person who is easily moved to tears ordinarily. And I certainly don't feel comfortable crying out in public. I'm a very private crier most of the time. I was just sitting in my car, like, crying and crying and crying. And then I drove us home, which, was not that far. We lived in Coburg, so not far from the Children's Hospital, really.
Yeah.
But, organising Max's lunch or whatever. And then phoning my ex-husband, and for, probably only the second time in the whole of our marriage, said to him, can you come home, please? Because I just, my mind was just racing. And I reckon every day for the first year, I would give myself 10 minutes to cry. So I would either lay in bed for 10 minutes first thing in the morning and cry, or I would get in the shower and cry, because I just felt so overwhelmed about, what do we do for him?
Yeah. What does this mean for his
like
life,
it wasn't,
for your life,
it
for the
wasn't like,
future?
oh, poor us. Aaron and I were never like poor us, but it was more about how are we going to give this kid a good life?
Sure.
Yeah.
What was the support system like in terms of like, systems and structures from the state and all that kind of stuff at the time?
Okay, so there was no...
Because I imagine things have changed a lot.
A lot. So there was no NDIS, so there was no money
Right.
that you could receive directly
to
help support your child with whatever, right?
Okay.
So
you worked and like your ex is like an engineer, so like you guys were doing all right. But you got 4 kids, so
well, we had 4 kids and a mortgage, so but
I guess not doing that great.
But we did have enough money to. We didn't go without essential things,
but it made it harder.
But it did make it harder. But case in point, at the time, to get a formal autism diagnosis for him. So this would have been like 2003. The waiting list to go through the public system at that time was around 2 years.
Yeah.
And until you've got until you had a diagnosis,
you can't get anything.
You could get no services, right?
Yeah.
So we paid at the time. I think it was about $800 to have a private psychologist who was specifically qualified in this because that's a very important thing too. We had her, and she was great. She came out to our home. And she spent a couple of hours with us observing Matt's and trying to interact with him and also getting a full history of his health.
Yep.
Asking us questions about...
He's like 3 years old at this point?
Yeah. Were there any other people with autism in the family that were... All those sorts of... Asking us extensive
what is the answer
questions.
to that?
No, not that we were aware of at the time.
Engineer usually is
bit
spectrumy?
He's just a cunt.
Not...
I'm sorry, I'm not saying that all engineers are cunts.
Okay. Some are.
He's just a cunt. So, she came and she did all of that and she went away and, and then she came back to us with a very comprehensive report about him and determined, that he was indeed did have autism.
Yep.
And then we were able to apply to get some extra support for him at childcare. But apart from that, once again, she recommended speech therapy would definitely be helpful for him.
Yeah.
But once again, you need a very specific type of speech therapist to work with the child like that. So we were very lucky to find one. So he went to speech therapy once a week for about 18 months. Mm-hmm. But, we paid for that because through the system at the time, he would have got 6 half-hour sessions.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that there's any support, like, from the state for anything, medical, health, whatever. Like, you can look at plenty of countries. Well, you look at one big country and where, like, none of that comes at all. But, I think the social network, the safety network here doesn't give you enough now, and I don't know what it was like back then, if it was worse or better. But at least it gives you something, which is great. But it's actually not enough.
Well, I
whatever you need, if you are in need, like the state's not going to give you enough. The best support that Matt did get through the state of Victoria, thank you, was his education because he went to an autism-specific school. Oh, cool!
Right through school.
I would imagine that would be quite uncommon at the time that it existed.
There were a few around, and once again, we just got incredibly lucky, I guess.
Yeah,
so
that's
he spent
great.
his first year at school. We kept him back a year, so he didn't start school till he was 6.
Yeah.
But the first year he was at school, he was in a classroom with only 4 other children, and they had a teacher and 2 support aides.
Wow!
So imagine how much better that was.
That's awesome
for lots of children.
Of course, I mean that'll be better for everyone.
Yeah.
But that's really cool.
In terms of just orientating him to school, to being in that sort of environment, and to have people who really understood the kids and the parents and what we were experiencing, and had all of that time to just give to those kids was incredible. So he went right through his school, primary school and high school, in that sort of environment.
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome.
Obviously the groups got bigger and things as he got older. And also in the scheme of autism, like I said, Matt's is a capital AUDISM.
Yeah.
But behaviourally, he's fairly
Capable.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe a lot of that is because he just grew up in a busy environment.
Yeah, great.
I often wonder if he'd been our only kid or been
That's
our first kid,
interesting.
if we would
Yeah.
have just like completely gone, oh, we have to do, we have to have quiet all the time and we have to do
Yeah,
everything
that's interesting.
the schedule has to be the same every day and stuff.
Yeah, because you hear about that with like, just like neurotypical babies and stuff, like in terms of sleeping and stuff, is if you give them a busy, loud, like sort of noisy
Yes.
environment, that's what they become used to.
Yes.
They don't have now these like really specific needs to get rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder, having siblings is maybe a good thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Particularly for someone with autism. And also, like, having met a lot of, like, only child Chinese people, maybe it's good for everybody. It's good to be forced to socialize growing up. And then, all right, so let's skip ahead, because now he's 26, you said?
He's turning 26 tomorrow.
Yeah. And you, I believe, you bought him, or, like, I think in the divorce, maybe this all happened. He has the apartment next to yours, is that correct?
No. He lives with me in our apartment.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I remember. Yeah, I've
No,
told
he would
people that.
love
I'm like, she bought him an apartment.
He would love to live in an apartment on his own.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, imagine.
Well, I don't know.
The decor would be Spider-Man.
Yes. Spider-Man's sick, so I got no problem with Spider-Man. But yeah, okay. So you guys live together.
Yes.
Let's skip back. How much stress on the relationship was Matt's versus the other kids? Or do you feel like it always the marriage would have just ended the way it ended anyway? Do you feel like having a kid with all these extra needs like cause strain?
Oh, look, it definitely does cause stress on you as parents.
Yeah.
Because, you're constantly having to deal with, like when he was a smaller kid,
Yeah.
he's the sort of kid who just like the minute the front door was open, he was just out and off. And you're like,
yeah.
fuck, like you can't,
Yeah.
you got to constantly. And I guess just in terms of like the meltdowns that he would have sometimes, and everywhere we'd go, it's either like, oh, do we all go and know that within an hour he's going to be like, tapping out and one of us is going to have to leave?
Yeah.
Or do we not go at all? Like all that sort of stuff. But I certainly don't think that was really a contributing factor in why our marriage ended.
He just got cunty anyway. Like,
he was a cunt already, and he just got cuntier, and I don't think that had much to do
that was
going to
happen no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Interesting.
But, I mean, that being said, if you look at the statistics around people who are parents to kids with all different sorts of disabilities
like
or special needs.
Yeah.
The divorce or separation rate in that is way higher than even the general.
That is definitely what I would have assumed.
Yeah.
And so now, like post divorce and stuff, like your 4 kids, do they they sort of don't have much of a relationship with the dad, or they do?
Nope.
Yeah, and that's because he's cunty.
Yeah.
So does Matt see him? No.
Yeah, Matt goes and stays with him 2 nights a week usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, how's their relationship? As far as you know.
From Matt's perspective, I think most of the time it's fine.
Yeah.
Because Matt's in some ways has very simple kind of expectations about things, and as long as those things are met, then everything's peachy.
Yeah.
But
as someone with Fitzroy-based autism, it's amazing how if the things that are important to you are met, it's like actually everything else in your life doesn't matter so much.
But I kind of just have to stay out of it a bit. If I thought it was harming him to go and spend time with his father, I would be perhaps intervening. But it's also that difficult thing, Matt's is quite disabled in some respects.
Okay.
But in other ways, he is a regular person with regular needs, and it's like I have no right to stand in the way of his relationship with his dad unless I thought there was harm being done to him. You know what I mean? Like if I thought he
something
was
not every divorced parent acknowledges
Yes,
or
yes.
lives by.
Yeah, no, but you have to. It's unfair to him.
Did you guys go through a period where you would talk shit about the other parent, like during the divorce or just like shortly after?
No, and I tried.
Oh wow!
Well,
that's uncommon.
Until I wrote a show about it.
You made the kids come to
yeah. No, but I guess it's different too. Like because when we broke up, all of our kids were adults, right? Like Max was 18.
Yeah.
So
like I was like 8, and my brother was 12 and stuff.
Yeah, so it's very different.
Yeah.
So we never had to have discussions about custody and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Matt's is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But the other three were well and truly old enough to talk about things if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I got served with my divorce papers because, he didn't even pay me the courtesy of just saying to me, hey, I'm going to file or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Which as if
feels
I was
like
object.
like sort of a bit of a power move or whatever.
Oh yeah,
as
no,
well.
absolutely. No,
especially
he went
because you
over.
were the one that sort of said, "Hey, we should end it," and then he was like, "Well, I'm going to fucking put the paperwork in, and I'm going to control this."
Well, and was
Feels like the
overseas
move.
at the time. Went overseas. What a coward!
Yeah.
And then had a sheriff, like whatever they are, serve me with the papers.
Yeah, that's
with
power.
this 47-page thing.
Yeah.
But so when it arrived, I was a bit shell shocked when I opened it and started reading these pages and pages of a fabulous piece of fiction, really. but my two older boys were back living with me at the time, and I said to them, "Oh, this has come, blah blah blah," and I said to them, "I'm not asking you to read it, but I'm just saying to you, if you want to read it, you're welcome to read it." And they were like, "No, we want to read it," and so they read it.
Oh, interesting.
Which is better in a way because they're
they're
his own words.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So they're very clear about
yeah
what he said and maybe what his agenda
and also
was.
they're adults, right? Like,
And they're
so it's
well
a
and
totally
truly
different thing
adults.
than doing that to a child, right?
Yes.
Because they do have the context of what the world is and what being an adult is. And
Yeah.
exactly.
So, they were able to read it and, make draw their own conclusions.
Yeah.
And also, witnessed his behaviour throughout, the couple of years that it took us to become disentangled from each other.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
And it was not good behaviour. So I was a saint the whole time.
Well, I was going to ask this. So, what's your ex's relationship like with his mother? And then I want to get what's your relationship like with your mother?
Okay, so
because I've heard a lot about your mum over the years.
So my ex grew up in a very religious family. They migrated from Holland to rural Tasmania when he was a very small child.
Interesting.
And and they were part of a Dutch. I'll get it wrong. Free Reform Presbyterian sort of church. So they were very, very strict, and they came out here and lived in a community with a bunch of their own people, and they sent their kids to a school that was attached to the church and all that sort of stuff. So he grew up, not being allowed to do, they didn't have a TV, they weren't allowed to go to the shops on certain days. Like there was all this shit, right? So it was very, very hardcore and ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. And so he rebelled against that hard when he was a teenager and moved out of home when he was quite young and never really had a relationship with his parents as an adult.
Interesting.
Like I first met my parents-in-law, I think it was about 2.5 years after we got married.
Mm.
And I only ever probably saw my parents-in-law half a dozen times in those 30 years that we were married.
I feel like this is something I think most people are well aware of, that family is important. Because I had such a sort of a strange sort of break in my family life when I was young. So like my mother had a horrible relationship with her parents, and she cut them off like for many years when I was young.
Yeah.
And also because my family broke up in a really horrible way when I was young, and then my parents, didn't talk, and then my dad had sort of a strained relationship with his parents. And so I got to a point at some point, I think in my late teens, where I just went, oh, well, family is not really a thing that matters to human beings.
Yeah.
And I sort of feel like now in retrospect, it made me a little cunty. That I didn't realize for a long time. And it was only like getting into therapy and stuff. And then I reconnected with my mother, who I'd cut off for 20 years. And then through that process, then also sort of reconnected with a lot of the other extended family, that I think, having familiar relationships kind of normalizes your behavior and your emotions in a way, at least for me, this has been true, that is easy to lose sight of. And I feel like you start to just act crazy without like sounding boards that are like blood in your life.
I think that ideally, family should be your safe space.
And well, they're not there. And for me, it never was, so I didn't get it.
Safe
right?
Space.
Yeah.
It really does have a very big impact on you. In
yeah,
so many
like
ways.
I was, like definitely like in my like late teens, early 20s, I was pursuing it in drug culture and bush doofs and stuff, right? I was like, oh, these are my family. It's like, no, they're not.
Oh, God, they could have made him have dreadlocks, people, imagine.
I had some white guy dreads for a little bit. And, but no, it's like these are people you smoke crystal meth with. And so you think, oh, we're close.
Family, we're bonded.
Yeah, because you feel such strong emotion on the drugs.
You should only smoke crystal meth with your real family people.
That's true.
That's how to connect.
Yes, that's what rural Tasmania is for. But no, it is such a, I think, it's such an obvious thing to say, oh, family is important, right? Because we're social creatures. But I just didn't get it for a long time. But I wonder if it's that thing of when you're ready to cut off, your parents, your close familial people, then you also can do that at any time much more easily. And then so it's like, well, yeah, I guess it's maybe not uncommon that divorced partners don't talk anymore. I have a divorced partner. Like, we didn't have a kid.
I know.
This is stupid.
Mrs. White Rice Supreme.
It's a fucking stupid thing that happened.
It's so wonderful.
But yeah, I mean, also, it's like a thing, we never should have gotten married at all. Like, my dad, she knows that, right? But like, my dad had died. I was overseas. I was just like, I need some kind of stability structure or whatever. I was just like, literally the first person it's like I walked out into the street and saw a person and went, I better marry her. And she didn't like, so I think I've told like a version of this on stage, but the reality of it is I proposed while we were high on crystal meth and said, and like she had saved me in her phone as Jez Supreme. And then I was like, oh, we should change her name Supreme or whatever. Both high on meth, up for days during the proposal. And she's like, yeah, it'll be great. You say all kinds of shit when you're high. And then a couple of days later, it's like, oh, we've all come down with the drugs, like we're back to regular life. But partly, I now realize this is like partly a spectrum-y thing. But I'm like, oh, anything I say has to be honored. Like, all words are so important and like honesty is so important and stuff. It's like, yeah, we were fucking high, but we said it. We both said we were getting married. I was like, oh, and she obviously was just like, yeah, we're all high. Like, she's a neurotypical person. She knows that doesn't mean anything when you've been up for 4 days and you're on crystal meth. And I was like, no, we said it. We said we have to do it. And I sort of pressured her into following through with a marriage she didn't want to do. And we had a big fight about it. I was like, if you don't marry me, because we were dating. We'd been dating for like 3 weeks or something.
Oh, wow.
We had known each other for years, but we were just like drug buddies. And then I sort of pressured her to follow through with it. And I said, if you don't do it, I'm leaving now. Because we were living in Brighton in the UK. I was like, I'm going to go to this other city. And, we can't, if I can't trust you,
Wow.
And so then, we followed through with the marriage. But then even then, when we got married in Las Vegas, it wasn't official until we handed in the paperwork back in Australia. And the whole time, I think she was like, at some point, this guy's going to wise up. Like, there's no way he's going to follow through with this. But I just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then, so obviously we had a bad marriage. We just had to go for too long. But it is a thing of, once it was done, because we don't have any dependents, I thought it made a lot of sense to not keep talking.
Yes.
But I think when you got kids, it's different. But obviously, it's also not always. I guess when you got adult kids, it doesn't matter.
Oh, well.
If Nicole, it's like, if Nicole and I ever break up, it's like, there's going to be a whole thing with the rabbits. Like, we don't, like, we're going to need to.
Oh, gosh.
We're gonna need to. The problem is she's like a exotics specialist, a rabbit veterinarian specialist. It's like, I don't know how I can go to a judge and be like, yeah, I should have shared custody with creatures I don't even know how to take care of.
I think if you just smoke crystal meth with your rabbits, maybe like,
those are the days.
Family.
I miss it. That's what family is. You just blow meth smoke in their face. Sorry, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. How's your physical form? How's your body? How's your heart? How's your knees?
Oh, well, my heart's fucked. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I found this out, years ago. You were like, I think it was a gig I used to run.
Yes,
and you were at, and you were
George's.
like, oh yeah, I just came from, yeah, fuck that gig. But yeah, I just came from the doctor, like, like a quarter of my heart's dead or something. Like,
Yes.
is that roughly correct?
Yes, so my left ventricle doesn't work.
I feel like you need one of those.
Well, you've got two of them. Fortunately,
Yeah.
the right one still does for now. But yes, the left.
Has it gotten better, or it's like there's no way to fix it? Or I guess you could have surgery, right?
Well, so when it was diagnosed, I was told that, I could go onto a sort of a cocktail of medication that would hopefully sort things out.
Yeah.
But if not, then there's a device, not a pacemaker, a different device that they could potentially put into my heart, or heart-lung transplant, right?
Well, you got 4 kids.
Yeah, I know. Which one don't I like the most? Who would I pick? Oh, yeah, I know who I'd pick.
Who'd you pick?
Well, I'm picking my daughter because she's the cleanest living.
I was going to say, yeah.
Although, imagine her organs in my body. Like, they're used to exercise and kale and purified water and stuff.
Commit suicide.
Yeah, they probably like, oh, no.
But you live cleaner now, right? Like, since I think...
I do a bit, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's a thing.
You're still living your life.
So for me, the medication has proved to keep me going. So that's lucky me. Like, that it was caught, I guess, just in time.
Because, when you told me, I was like, oh, shit, like, this chick's gonna die. Like, I expected I wouldn't know you in, like, 3 months.
Sucked in. He's like, I never have to book her again, fuck.
Yeah. Who would open for my tape?
Yeah, I know.
But...
I would have done it posthumously.
I feel like you look healthier now than back then. That's my perception of it.
Well,
now that
I'm on a lot of drugs, and I have had to make some adjustments to my lifestyle. But I guess.
But you got like party stamina like crazy.
I do. Yes.
Yeah, especially, and like, no offense, but especially like for your age and stuff, like. Because I'm now 42 and I just get so tired so quick now and my knees hurt and I'm like, I used to do a lot of hard drugs, but I used to be out for days. And now I'm like, all right, I got to go sit down somewhere. And then, it's like when festival time happens or whatever, it's like, you're just out till 6, 7 a.m. pretty regularly, it feels like.
I'll probably only do like an all-nighter, maybe a couple of times during festival now.
Yeah, okay.
But God, they're fun.
I feel like they used to be
in the right company. It's all that thing about the company, and I think you can't plan those things. Yeah. It's just got to be something that happens. The spontaneity of it.
Did you used to like raise hell when you were like younger? Like, were you like because you guys had kids in this 30-year marriage and stuff? Were you like crazy party animal, like as a teen, as a 20s?
When I was a teenager, and yes, prior to having children, I used to go out regularly, like all weekend without sleep.
Yeah,
like I used to knock off from my Friday night job when I was still at uni, and this was without drugs too.
Oh well, I could never do that.
And we used to hit up the clubs on a Friday night because I worked in I worked in fashion. And so, like, all the nightclub promoters used to come into our store and give us drink cards and stuff,
sure.
And we would get all glammed up in the outfits from the stock that we were selling.
Yeah, great.
And we would, like, hit King Street, the only place to go on a Saturday night in Melbourne, or Friday night in those days, and party all night and then come back to work and just change into a different outfit and work all day. And then do the same thing.
I mean, I used to do that kind of thing, but on drugs.
No.
Yeah, I would not have been able to do it without chemical help.
Could like do that, and it's the thing too. Then like you'd eventually go to bed on Sunday night and then wake up fresh as a daisy on Monday.
Yeah,
and do it.
I remember the first time, like I was maybe 19, 20, the first time I smoked crystal meth. And I remember the morning after the first time I smoked meth. Like, I went to sleep at this, like, house party or whatever at, like, 3 a.m. And I wake up, like, 4 or 5 hours later. And I went, like, oh, yeah, I feel great. I guess I just don't get hangovers or come-downs. And that's how I am forever. But I really believed that I would never ever get it, and it's amazing when your organs start to fail a little bit as you get older. It's like, man, now I'm like sober essentially, right? Like I drink like a handful of times a year is the rule, but like even now, like if I drink 2 drinks, then the next day it's like, well, half that day is actually gone.
Okay.
I just don't have the recovery position anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I don't regularly drink as much as I used to.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm also the sort of person that like I can go for days without having a drink at all. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I'm also the sort of person
because I only have it 5 times a year, but I think about it constantly. Still.
No, well, but when I'm having a drink, I don't like to have to think about like cutting myself off if I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I don't drive when I go out very often, because it's like, you know, I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
Yeah, I want to
like,
have fun.
Just do it. So for me, it's more about, which is not necessarily a good thing, but, you know, I can go out and have 20 drinks.
Yeah.
And
I've seen you do it.
and just go, well, that was great. But then,
yeah, but I've seen you had like lots of drinks, and I've seen you at different times of like a long bender or whatever. But I've never seen you messy. I've never seen you I've never gone to myself, oh, Nicky should stop drinking right now. You know what I mean? And I've said that to myself. I'm like, oh, I have to stop right now because I'm a mess or whatever. Or a friend of mine, I've seen that. But I've never seen you out of control, I think.
Yeah, no, look.
But that's only as long as I've known you.
Yes.
So who knows what happened back in the day.
Believe me, it's happened. Yeah, it has happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was taught by experts, Jez. So.
So you've never done other drugs?
Oh, no, I have done other drugs.
What drugs have you
done? I
done?
still do occasionally.
Yeah, what have you
done? What have I done? Well, when I was when I was a teenager, I was born in 1965. So let's say 1980
Let's not do any math.
or thereabouts, you know, when you first sort of, well, for me, 15, first sort of getting out at night, you know, with or without parental permission, as the case may be, and going to parties and stuff like that. Because, you know, when we were kids, that's all there was to do. You know, like the city was, it wasn't like you went out at night to places, like you just hung out somewhere.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
And stole whatever booze you could from your parents.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, I grew up in Perth, and that's the same
it's
now.
Still the same now. I know. Every time I go to Perth, I'm like, fuck me, why am I here?
For money, you're there for money, Nicky.
I'm there for money and for the stories. No, so obviously then weed and speed were the two things that you could kind of obtain when you're a 15-year-old in the 80s in Melbourne, suburban Melbourne.
Yeah.
So, you know, I tried both of those things. Weed, I never really got into, and I just found that, you know, if you're sitting around with a bunch of people that are stoned and they're just all kind of there being a bit like stoned and weird, and it's like, this is no fucking fun. You know what I mean? Like,
well, sure. Oh, you mean even when you're stoned?
Well, it's
certainly being sober around stoned people is boring as fuck.
Yeah, but even when it just wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
Speed, I was also like, you know, that felt like way more dangerous and racy and stuff.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it was also like, I don't think this is for me.
Have you done like coke and that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, of course.
All right, well, fair enough.
Love coke. If there are any sponsors listening to this, please.
If Tim Hewitt's around.
I've got a seniors card now. If that gets me a discount, that was the first thing I did with my seniors card, Jez. You know that, right?
What's that?
I cut lines of speed with my seniors card.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Beautiful.
I like that.
Never tried heroin.
That's, I think, wise. Yeah.
Yes, I think it was the wise decision.
I'm very like pro drug. Like I've done most of the things. I never did heroin. When I was like young, I stupidly was like, oh, I have to try all the drugs, and I put heroin on the list of the drugs I should try. And luckily, I never got around to it. But even though I'm pro drug, even though I don't do most of them anymore, I've always been very clear with Nicole, because she has chronic anxiety and muscle pain and just like constant stress all the time. You're never allowed to try heroin, because I feel like it will fix every problem that she has.
Yeah, and that's the danger.
Therefore,
that's
what will happen. I mean, I used to have a really good friend. I mean, he's still around as far as I know, but we're not friends anymore. Who was like a proper heroin addict. He moved from the US, like he grew up in Philadelphia. And then he moved to Australia just so he could get out of the like, because
Out of the
years he was
scene or
trying to kick
something.
the habit,
Yeah.
kick the habit, and then he moved to Australia to do like exchange studies. I met him at university, just so he wouldn't know anyone who could sell him heroin, because that's the only way. If he could be like on the other side of the world. And even
Yeah.
so, he would go back once a year and just do loads of heroin.
Well,
and then come back and like we shared a house, and he said, "Don't worry about me when I get back from Philly. I've just got a bit of restless leg," because he would just sit in his bedroom, just trying to kick, you know.
Yeah, no. Tried acid a couple of times.
Don't
when
like
I was in my no, liked it.
Oh, you gave a face like you didn't like it.
No, liked it. It was just more that like I had, around that time a number of friends who had like really bad acid trips and stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's a tricky thing to get right.
Quite
actually.
frightening
Can
and
be.
stuff. And so I was kind of like, oh, maybe no.
Yeah.
Like, and mushrooms. Big fan of mushrooms.
Mushrooms are sick.
Yeah,
I feel like
mushrooms are sick.
mushrooms. Yeah, they're sort of a similar high to acid, but gentler, and it feels easier for it to be positive.
Yeah.
But it's quite similar in terms of the general high.
Yeah, and MDMA, nice little buzz.
Of course.
Gotta.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you've been around.
Yeah, I've been around.
Yeah, sick.
Nana's Valium. Oh, so good.
Yeah, Valium's another thing that I'm like, all right, we have to have strict limits for Nicole, because it's like, yeah, this will fix everything, but it's just highly addictive, you know?
Yeah.
It's too fun. I want to cover this in 5 minutes. All right, tell me about losing your dad. Tell me about...
Yeah, look, I took him to the
Probably
park
the
one
saddest-
day. I let him off the leash.
Tell me about probably the saddest thing in your life.
All right. So my dad and I were always like very, very close. So I'm from a family. There's him and my mum who had a horrendous marriage for all of my life. God bless Catholicism. And I only have...
Do you remember them ever being happy together?
Oh, not really, no.
Yeah.
And I have a brother who's 2 years younger than me. So it's only me and my brother and our parents.
Yeah.
And I was always very, very close to my dad. My dad was a beautiful man. He was also a very flawed man. He was a chronic alcoholic for a long time.
Yep.
He has an acquired brain injury as a result of
Wow.
drinking and shit. Yeah.
Did he manage to get on top of it at any point?
Well, when he got when he fell into a coma and got hospitalised for 6 months and had to learn to walk and stuff again, that kind of slowed down his drinking.
Just had to work out how to use the arm again.
Yeah.
Did it change his personality?
A little bit, but not too much. So my dad, backpedal. We were talking about families before. My dad came from a big Catholic Irish family. He was the oldest of his siblings. There were 6 of them.
Irish Catholic feels like the inventors of alcoholism.
Well, they
like
were.
absolutely,
yeah, and they brought it here with them on the boats.
Yeah,
bless
absolutely.
them. And his home life was in some ways really challenging. When he was a kid, they were very, very poor. His dad was a violent alcoholic.
Yeah,
They never had any money. Blah 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 blah.
Your dad never violent though?
No.
Yeah, great.
But he would, like when I was a kid, he would disappear for days sometimes. Had a job, managed to keep his job down, would go to work, would go out on an all-night bender, go to work and then go back out on the next bender sort of things. And, but yes, he was meant to die when he was 49. He had like this massive seizure that caused his brain injury as a result of drinking.
Yes, okay.
And
Who went to the emergency room and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. He was raced off to hospital in an
Yep.
ambulance, and we were told to call
Were
the
you
priest.
there? Like,
and
did
all
he collapse in front of you? Or?
He didn't collapse in front of me, but my mum called me to say that she'd found him collapsed and had called the ambulance, of course, not knowing what had happened.
Yeah.
And the ambulance had come and raced him off to hospital and said to her, "You better call the family
Right.
and you better call the priest. Because that'll fix it." Praying, I don't know if you know this, Jez, but...
I was raised Catholic.
Yeah,
I don't think it fixed shit.
No, I know, we don't.
Yeah,
but,
I think I would have had enough guilt without it.
But you know the thing, the call the priest sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he spent 6 months in hospital and rehab.
Yeah, right.
Learning to like walk and talk
the
again.
injury, was it like purely alcohol poisoning, or did he fall and hit his head as well? Or
No, it was from the alcohol.
Wow.
And so
that's like very extreme.
That's it, extreme. And this happened when my dad was 49. So up to then, my dad was still, despite being an absolute pisshead, he was still like super fit. Like he used to play squash. He could outrun like any of the young guys. He coached in footy. Like he was
Interesting.
he was a really active, life of the party sort of person. And of course, after
Well, I
that,
suppose he was hammered all the time.
after that happened, when he came out of hospital and rehab finally, like he had so he had some mobility issues. He used to walk with a bit of a funny sort of gait and totter, and he had some short-term memory loss. So he could tell you things that had happened 20 years ago.
Right.
But if you'd walked into a room and I'd said to him, Dad, this is my mate Jez, he'd say hi, and then he'd call you every other name that started with J. John, James, Joseph, and he'd know it was J, but he'd like there were these funny little weird things.
Interesting.
But he lived till he was he died 2025. He was not quite 85. But he had in the finish he had prostate cancer in his 60s, which returned.
It's a hard one.
In his 80s. Well, maybe not. Leave that
mark
in.
that out. That's good. Nice line.
And when his cancer came back again in his 80s, like it just ate him up.
Yeah.
So it was. It's. I guess it's.
So coming out of that, when he had the brain injury at 49, like after that, did he stop drinking? Did he just moderate it?
At first, he wanted to just go back to doing it, and of course, he couldn't handle it. Yeah. And also, my mum made it very clear that she just wasn't going to live with him anymore if that's what he was going to do. Right. And a bunch of other people in his life were also like. For the first time ever, calling him out like you're a fucking idiot. Like,
well, he put himself in hospital.
You almost lost your life, and you're back.
Yeah.
You've been given a second shot, and you're going to fuck it up over beer. Yeah, So then he would, occasionally have like beer.
Yeah. Okay.
Which for my dad was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's actually huge.
It is
change.
Huge. Yeah.
How functional did his whole body get after that? Like, how much did he recover?
Well, he recovered quite a lot, but he always had the problem with the walking thing.
And the memory, did that ever come back to full?
The memory, no, he still would have occasional problems with short-term memory. But I mean, overall, considering the prognosis we were given when he was taken to hospital, it was a miracle that he, lived, let alone...
We got nearly another 40 years
got back to living. Yeah.
And you guys had a really good relationship, or?
Yeah, we did.
Or a reasonably good relationship.
Well, I think, obviously when that happened and he first came out of hospital and was like just back onto, I'll go to the pub and stuff. Like I got really dirty with him.
How old were you?
About that. I was 24. So in the midst of that, I had my first baby. So he was...
Wow.
We still weren't sure if he was going to live when Alex was born. So it was a really weird time in my life, because on the one hand, I was so happy that I had this beautiful baby. And on the other hand, I was packing up that baby twice a week and taking him into the Alfred Hospital to go and see my dad, who at that stage still couldn't speak. Was just kind of sitting there like conscious, but like...
Were you angry at him?
Yeah, in a way I was. Yeah.
And then how did you work through that, you guys? I mean, I guess, when he actually made changes, right? You were able to...
Well, he did make some changes. And I think also my experience of becoming a parent was that it made me reflect upon my own parents in a bit of a different way.
Yeah, you hear that a lot about... I mean, as someone who's now not going to go through that avenue in life, you hear that parenthood changes your perspective on everything.
Yeah, it does. And I was able to look at my dad more as
human being?
Kevin, the whole Kevin, rather than
a dad
just
figure.
My dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the same with my mum, which is a whole another topic of conversation.
Well, no, I don't think we have time.
We don't have time. Gloria's an episode on her own. But it was, I guess... I think a lot of those things are just slowly. And I also think, like, I know, okay, so my dad was also of that generation where you don't talk about your feelings, right?
Sure.
Especially being a man and stuff, like you don't. Yeah. And Catholicism, denial, like push him down, push him down. Put it
all in a box.
So with Dad, it was much more a matter of, I guess, just spending time around him again. And, probably having the kids was the bridge. Maybe if I didn't have kids, we wouldn't have connected together so well again because, I wanted my kids to have grandparents. And my dad and my mum really love my kids. Like they were fantastic grandparents, both of them to my children.
Yeah.
So I think, maybe that helped to maybe broker things a little bit. Maybe
So
if
you feel like you got closer with your dad after.
Well, I certainly reconnected with him after that big.
But you were close growing up?
Job. Oh yeah, when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
I absolutely adored him.
Yeah, great.
And he, we're probably way too much alike, Jez, in a way. But
well, I was just thinking. I mean, I think often, because I think like you have quite a healthy relationship with alcohol. I think often someone with an alcoholic parent, particularly one who's like such an extreme, would either be a full alcoholic or a teetotaler who's terrified of alcohol. I think it's interesting that you actually seem to have quite a balanced view of it.
Yeah, I'm quite a fan.
Yeah, no, I think it's sick. I think it's fucking awesome. That's my problem.
Yeah. Well, but I guess it's that thing about like, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Like alcohol is an addictive substance. We know that.
Sure.
Like, and we witness examples of that all the time. But when you think about it, actually, most of the world, I would argue, doesn't have an alcohol problem. Most people can have a couple of drinks.
I think that's true, yeah, for sure.
And not do it. So it's sort of put out as this big evil thing. And then I know there's other people that will advocate in terms of other health issues that it causes. That's the reason not to do it.
Well,
and whatever.
I feel like, alcohol and probably weed and maybe to some extent like video games and stuff as well. I feel like if you're an addictive personality, you'll get addicted to those.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of people who aren't like that. And they can just handle those things.
Yeah, they can pick them up and put them
there's certain
down.
drugs or like certainly like, something like, like opiates or, heroin, all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, that'll addict anybody. And then alcohol, I feel like you need to be predisposed to addiction.
Yeah, and also I think it's that thing about like what else is happening in your life. Because let's face it, it is so easy to disappear into a bottle.
Love it.
When no, but it is.
No, I know.
Climb in and put the stopper on the top.
Yes.
And just like
so much of my use of it was to like self-medicating for anxiety.
Yeah.
And what a great fix it was every time.
No, exactly. And so, there's that. So it is such an individualized thing, I think.
Yeah.
That whole thing and the relationship that and let's face it, here's something else, so much of that sort of stuff and our mental health stuff, there's so much stuff that goes on in our lives before we're able to speak words, right? Like the environment that you're born into. So if you grew up like I did, surrounded by people, Gloria, my mother, not a drinker, right? Gloria will have one glass of something and it will last her all evening.
Right.
And she's rare at it, right? Like she's never got a buzz from it, so she just doesn't do it, right? But on her side of the family and my dad's side of the family, so many alcoholics, right? So many. And, when you see them like together at Christmas and stuff, like I reflect on it now as a child, like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, they're playing a game where they're smashing all the plates in the backyard, but then we're not Greek. What's going on? That's no Basuki music. That's why does that person always have to be taken home early? Why does that? Why is there a white fan out the front? Suddenly, like all that sort of stuff. And so I think once again, our relationship to a lot of things around drugs and alcohol, a lot of that is predetermined by things that happen even before we're really conscious of them.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah,
and so I. Certainly for me, when I think about myself as a kid now, one of my roles in the family was to be the peacekeeper.
Yep. I think that's true for a lot of comedians.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you learn.
You learn
to
sort of,
from a young age.
You're trying to manage all of these adults.
Get this group to be happy.
That are like fucked. They're out of control.
Absolutely.
They're behaving like children, and you're there trying to somehow make it all okay or peaceful and safe or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing too. But for me, I guess, it's that tricky thing about like I wine, love it, right? Like
Right.
I love it. I'm a foodie as well, love my wine.
Sure.
So it's like I want to be able to enjoy that. Like the thing for me with booze is that it's got to make things better.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Or I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's had to become a conscious rule for what my relationship with alcohol is now, because what I was using it for was to deal with bad situations.
Yeah.
And that's how it became really habitual and a big problem. And so now it's a very intentional, has to be a choice made in advance. It can never be to make myself feel better. It can only be because this is a joyful environment. And then also it's like a thing of like, well, I've only got 5 years, so I have to be more intentional about it. But it's made it really substantially different. I mean, I really do miss anytime I felt bad, I got to have a drink and then I wouldn't feel bad anymore. Because now I have to actually just engage with whatever's wrong in my life and try and fix it.
That's fucked.
It's so much work.
Ridiculous.
But I think it's kind of similar to like, I go to the gym now and stuff. Like, I fucking hate it, but I'm much better off for doing it, and overall my life is better for doing it.
Yeah, and you're looking after future Jez.
Yeah, but current Jez would like a drink.
Current Nicky will have one for him. It's fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I used to be a cocktail bartender as well, and I
Yes,
really
I
love just the whole culture around making drinks and crafting and like it's so she'll generally have maybe she'll have a cocktail probably 4 nights a week that I'll make her, like when she comes home.
How lovely.
And it's got 4 shots in it. And she'll have that, and then maybe one more drink, probably 4 nights a week. And then it's a thing of like, I don't want to be one of those fucking, current alcoholic, but someone who doesn't drink who then starts policing everyone else's alcohol. Because it's like, no, I've got the problem. It's not your problem. But it is a thing of like, all right, well, probably not every night. If you start having as many drinks a week as I was having when I told my GP how many drinks I was having, and then my GP was like, you have to stop drinking or you'll die eventually. I mean, we'll all die eventually, but it's like you can't have that many, but you can have a little bit less than that. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoy the whole culture around booze. But it's just that thing of like, particularly around comedy as well. It's like so many free drinks.
Yeah,
it got so sneaky how many drinks I was having because I wasn't paying for most of them.
No, and I think that it's easy
really
for
crept
it to creep up. Without you realizing it.
Yeah. And it was for me it was like COVID when I was like in an apartment, not at gigs, and then I was buying my own booze and throwing my own bottles away. Then I just went, oh shit, this is like a wild amount of
one of the great
bottles.
things about living in Coburg for all those years was we generally had like at least one lot of Muslim neighbours.
Okay.
And so like just before Christmas, you'd always go and do the deal with them about, hey, can we put our excess empties?
I was trying to find the connection to Muslims.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know where this is going.
No, don't panic. It's cool. And then they'd just laugh and say, yes, can you put newspapers in between or whatever so people don't think that we're pissheads? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. Always happy to oblige.
That's actually lovely.
It's beautiful.
That's a truly
harmony,
multicultural
that's multiculturalism
society. That's
in
good.
the People's Republic of Meribek.
All right. There was definitely other stuff I wanted to cover, but we don't have time.
Oh, no.
So, what's the meaning of life?
42, Jez, isn't it?
Oh, that's my age. No, but genuinely, what do you think the purpose of your life is? What's the meaning behind it? What's important to you in life?
I think it's important to give of yourself for the greater good. So I very much believe in, volunteering and stuff like that. Doesn't have to be formal, doesn't have to be all the time. Not everybody can get up every day and do it, but I feel if you've got something that you can give, it's a good thing to give a bit of it out there. And I think, I don't know what the meaning of life is other than to actually learn to, just to get to know yourself and to understand who you are and why you are.
Yeah.
You're never going to be perfect.
Mm.
And actually perfection is boring as fuck. But it's hard I think life becomes harder and harder if you just go through life in denial. So I think it's good to look in the mirror every day at yourself and acknowledge the good about yourself first and foremost, and then to maybe set yourself one little thing to try and do that day that's maybe something that is going to be a bit hard or that you've been avoiding. And it mightn't be the whole thing. It might be just a little piece of the thing because you can't do everything at once. But I think that's, yeah.
That's lovely.
Oh, and to be as funny as fuck. Also, that's the real meaning of life.
Yeah, to be an act.
If you're not
famous
feeling
comedians I have watched say, I don't want to follow her, actually. Can you put someone else next, and then I'll go after them?
It's always a man that says that, people.
Well, we're weak.
Insecure.
Thanks, Nicky.
Thanks, Jez. It's been lovely.